we talked about Dave Brink before, but here is issue 3. I don't know if you've read a little book called Perfect 10. However, it's a solid book. Go back and Amanda B said it correct. Dave Brink knows how to write. It's a good book. Definitely don't pass on 1 and 2. It's like it feels like a genuinely good team book, even though it's based around one, kind of heroine, but it's kind of like this team book. Have you seen much about issue 3, Jack?
Nope.
Yeah, so
but I love that art.
Yeah, I think it's the same guy. I think it's still Pal. There he is, Pal Rodriguez. Rodriguez. Pal Rodriguez. But yeah, his style is really chunky, and his forms and his figures are like exaggerated to a point where
I love his line weights.
Yeah,
his line style is really cool. I like it.
It's really cool, indeed. So all you have to do is look at it, and you're probably into it. I will be signing up for this. I haven't already. I'm pretty sure I already did, but it looks like Perfect 10. The odds stacks against 10, or the odds against 10 stack up. Oh, I said that backwards. Dyslexic, I guess. As she faces her biggest threat yet. Plus, who are Safeguard? So, I don't know who Safeguard is. I'm not sure if I remember that from the second issue. It's been a while now. But anyway, this book, go check it out. Go sign up, guys.
Woo!
High praise from Catapano.
Yes. Thanks, Joe.
Wow, that's cool. Cool.
Indeed.
Was that too long to start off with?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's fine. I think it was good.
Right.
It was good. It was, self plug. It's always a good thing.
Yeah, I couldn't help it, man.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
And we've got comics with Drew there in the chat.
Yeah. We got. Let me see who's here. Dr. Ino's here. Hey, yeah, Dr. Ino. Welcome.
Greetings, everybody.
Woohoo. Comics with Drew. Perfect 10's probably the best.
Wow, that is super high praise.
Wow. I see how it is, Drew. It's all good. I don't hurt at all. No, in all seriousness, Perfect 10's pretty fantastic.
Well,
it's
pretty. I mean, I've read some solid indie comics. So I'm gonna have to go with probably Galactic Rodents of Mayhem because it blew me away, and it was made by my very good buddy Gilly Deltrez. And
I need to read that one.
Yes, you do, man. It is so freaking good. Oh man, that's one of my top 5, probably my top 3, maybe is that one. Ooh, for sure. Wow. Yeah,
Common America is certainly up there for me.
Yes, it is. Common America is phenomenal.
Kyrie's up there for me as well as a huge history nut.
I couldn't get Common America. They didn't ship to my country. So
really, that's interesting.
Yeah. So maybe next time. Chris Fisk is here. Welcome, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Welcome, sir.
Oh, I like your avatar. It's pretty cool.
Oh, what's his avatar? Let me check.
Some elf. Right. I don't know where that's from. I'm guessing it's a D&D comic. I don't know.
Yes, it's sort of dark elf.
Yeah.
Cool. And Rob Price. Rob Price Tunes. What's up? Welcome, Rob.
Wow, that makes me feel old.
Right, yeah.
That is super old.
That was all the rage back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Silly damn Budweiser commercial. Oh,
was it for Budweiser? I can't even remember.
I'm barely certain because it was where
I'm sure it was either Budweiser or Mountain Dew. I don't know.
I just remember that it came from an ad where there was a dog. It was a Super Bowl ad where you had a dog that gets brought up into a spaceship and it's actually an alien, and they're like, "What have you learned?" And he goes, "Voila!" And then that
Infantile Chronicles. I'm gonna have to check it out because based on just the avatar art of that character, it looks pretty cool.
I knew his name sounded familiar. I've seen Infinitale. It's actually a very good looking book.
All right, drop a link so I can check it out later.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Awesome.
If you guys in the chat have things to shill or sell or just put the links.
Budweiser. Those are the frogs.
Yeah.
The Budweiser frogs. Yeah. I am so freaking old.
Hey Drew, if Bancroft can do it with Todd McFarlane, then it works for us too, you know. So, but you never know. Maybe he drops by.
I do plan. Hopefully, it'll happen to have Gabe El Taib on my channel. So.
Oh wow, awesome!
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Don't make promises, man.
No, I know. We've been talking. I've been talking with him on Facebook, and
yeah,
he's super busy. So kind of like we want to.
It's just a matter
next. Yeah, we want to do it next weekend because this weekend he can't because it's his son's birthday and whatnot. And but next weekend, hopefully, we can make it happen. But we'll see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
RC Gates, join us. Welcome, RC. RC Gates has his own YouTube channel where he does reviews of indie comics, and he made one for Perfect 10 also. So check out his channel and subscribe.
Well, that reminds me, I got to get back into making reviews. I have a review I want to do with Monster MD. So.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
And it's not going to be super positive. It's not going to be positive.
No, you didn't like that.
No.
Yeah, you're probably the first person that I've heard say that they did not like that book. I am intrigued to give it a read. I haven't. It wasn't when I got into doing all of this. I think Monster MD kind of. I had that kind of like off the periphery, and then by the time I found out about it, it was about to close, and it wasn't really something that spoke to me. Not that it looked bad or anything, but it just wasn't like horror is one of those things that it really has to get me in order for me to go check it out.
Yeah, I'm not a big horror guy either, but like the art really called to me. I like the art a lot, and so I backed it and stuff, and I actually got it a long time ago. I just didn't read it until recently. So, yeah.
Okay. Guys, today's topic was something that Michael suggested.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about villains.
Yeah, it's always a good time to talk about. I mean, I think last week we were talking about powers, right? And so obviously, to a degree, powers make the hero, but obviously the thing that drives a narrative and a story is the dynamic between your hero and your villain. And I haven't published it yet, but one of the I recently got a chance to write a piece for the blog that I do work for here and there on villains, specifically villain archetypes, because there have been comments made by specific people that act in the industry about characters that they have played, trying to defend them and say that they are not. And so I thought that it'd be a fun topic to come in and discuss villainy and talk about the different types of villains, talk about, because I mean, especially with modern audiences, you have a lot of this tendency to steer away from the more traditional Snidely Whiplash villain for villain's sake kind of villain, and more a Magneto morally ambiguous villain that has reasonable ideas and that you can empathize with, but at the end of the day, they are the villain because of how they choose to implement those ideas. And so I thought that would be a fun topic of discussion.
Okay, Drew says that's why SJW characters fail, because the villains are all straw men. Basically nowadays they want to give villains this relatability.
That's a big issue for me that I've seen this. I think in today's culture I've seen this kind of glorifying, this excusing of evil where DC, DC and Marvel try to, I sort of excuse villain, excuse evil. Movies like Joker or the Cruella de Vil or Maleficent, they try to make these characters misunderstood and they're not that bad. They try to subvert villainy, to subvert evil. And I have a big issue with that trend. I hate it. I really don't like it. It's something that I've seen prevalent and I have a big issue with.
Well, and this is where I think that having a villain be relatable isn't an inherently bad thing, but the problem I think becomes when you don't double down and be like, rest assured he's still a villain. Like, one of the things that probably one of my favorite characters in all comics is Magneto, right?
Magneto's a great character. He really is.
Like Captain America is my favorite superhero, but probably my favorite character in comic books is Magneto. And one of the things that I really like about Magneto is that he is a part of what I like to call, I'm sure that there's an actual name for the archetype, but what I like to call the journey failed hero, right? So every hero goes through effectively a hero's journey where they're put through trials and everything of their core cardinal virtues, right? And at the climax, you have an ultimate test of those virtues. And the true hero is going to press forward and make the right call and create a balance of justice within the four cardinal virtues and move forward. Where we have with Magneto is you have somebody that was put down the hero's journey path. And when it came time for the ultimate test, where it was time to put the cards down, he failed. And what that ultimately comes down to is Magneto was unable to look past the darkness to see the light. It's one of these things that I talk about a good deal, because when you look at Magneto and you look at his history, I mean, obviously, victim of the Holocaust, then he was a Nazi hunter for a bit after that. And he found out that a bunch of the people that he brought to the authorities were not being brought to justice, but were spared to be part of Operation Paperclip or this, that, the other. And so he lost pretty much all of his faith in humanity. And the moment that he found out about mutants and the existence of other mutants, when he met Charles Xavier and everything, there was a choice that both of these people made to be saviors of mutant kind. But where Charles Xavier decides to do this by building a bridge between humanity and mutant kinds, creating understanding and going down a path of reason, Magneto sees being a mutant as a way to discard his humanity, as a way to no longer be human, to rise above humanity, and that protecting mutants means getting rid of humans. And this is where the lines are drawn. Magneto has reasonable ideas that you can level with and that you can understand, but at the end of the day, he implements them in a way that is fundamentally flawed and lacks genuine justice in his logic. Because by creating a supremacist outlook, he is putting people under heel and is actively becoming the very thing that he hated growing up. He is actively becoming the Third Reich. That's the beautiful tragedy of his character. As a villain, that's what he is. But I think that people just see, he's right about all these talking points, and they discard the fact that at the end of the day, what he is promoting is genocide. That what he is promoting is racial supremacy, genetic supremacy. He's a eugenics. That's where the issue comes in. Because I think that what it comes down to, when I see a lot of the mainstream approaches to villains and everything now, yeah, there is this desire to make these characters more complex and nuanced. And I don't think that that's inherently a bad thing. But I think the problem is that by not understanding the role of the hero, the people in the mainstream just see, oh, well, this is just a guy that's getting picked on, and we like, why are we focusing so much on the villain when we can relate to and empathize more with the villain? Well, the whole point of the hero villain dynamic is that heroes aren't necessarily what we relate to; they are what we aspire to. Like at the end of the day, a hero is something that you and we will never be able to attain in our lifetime, or maybe we can come close, but it's like, we're never going to be Captain America. We're never going to be Superman. We're never going to be any of these characters.
Right. But I think the aspiration should always be there to be that. It should never 100%. Go away. I think life is a journey to be that good. Maybe never achieving it completely, but to always strive for it. And what you mentioned before, everything you were talking about, Magneto, that's classic X-Men stuff. Because modern X-Men stuff, they're pretty much villains themselves, the X-Men, for the most part. And that's the thing. They've blurred the line between hero and villain. A lot of modern creators have done that. So you can't really tell. Like, I don't know that, like, with X-Men Green, I don't know if you know about that. Like, what happened with that?
Oh, I heard a bit about it, and no, and I don't disagree. I know there's a lot of people in the chat talking about it. It's like, oh well, and I think that Comics with Drew kind of puts it up perfectly by, there are far too many villains that are created by bullies these days. It's lazy motivation, in my opinion, and I agree. I think that there are certain instances, like when you have one or two villains like Magneto and what have you, it makes them special. But when that becomes the new norm, well, you've taken away something that made one character unique. Villains, at the end of the day, one of the core things about them should be their villainy. It should be the wickedness of their intentions. It should be all of these things. And because at the end of the day, the whole purpose is for them to have this dynamic of the hero, where you have a character that is very clearly the person that you don't want to be versus the character that you very clearly want to be. Yeah. And that's not to say that there isn't room for more nuanced approaches. Some of my favorite versions of like the dynamic between Superman and Lex Luthor are things where Lex's motivations are fueled by his insecurities of Superman's perfections, like all-star Superman, with him being like, I'm getting older and he hasn't aged a day, like being defined by those things. I think that there is definitely room for those kinds of nuances, but there has to be a fundamental understanding that it doesn't matter how reasonable a person's mindset is, we're defined by our actions. And if the actions of the person are evil, that's the end of the discussion. Wickedness, it doesn't matter how they came to make those decisions. Evil's evil, and there's nothing that can excuse it. I think that Michael B. Jordan was talking about Eric Killmonger from Black Panther.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, I think I read that article. I think it was on Bounding in the Comics. Yeah,
like talking about how he's not a villain, and he's talking about how Killmonger studied history and saw all of this stuff and saw this as the only way to change things. Well, that, if anything, makes him worse. The whole point of history and the study of history is to ask questions and find answers. And if you are asking questions and you know that what has been done in the past is wrong, and you see how your people are suffering because of it, and your then solution to that answer is to implement it, but in reverse, you are worse than the people that made those decisions in the first place, because you have the moral context of the present. You have that moral context to see the side effects, to see the ramifications, and then you chose to go down this path anyway. That makes you way worse than any of the people that you've harbored grudges against because of this. Because you know what you're doing is wrong, and you are only doing it because you've been pushed around. Like that's the moment that you start to be like, oh, well, he has reasonable points. It doesn't matter what his reasonable points are. His implementation of his philosophy is to project supremacy. And at the end of the day, supremacy is evil. The moment that you create an environment where when one person has an unnatural superiority to somebody else, for things that are beyond their control, whether that be, being born into a social class, being born into a specific race or gender or this or that. The moment that you create a dynamic like that, the moment that you are on the wrong side.
Yeah, could it be that modern writers do not understand anymore what?
Yeah, exactly. They don't.
That line towards villainy.
They don't understand it. Yeah, that's the.
I just saw that there's a sequel to this movie with the blind guy. I forgot the name. The blind guy in the first movie, he rapes the main character, and now there's this sequel where he is the main character. So suddenly we have to.
Oh, you're talking about I think Lights Out.
I don't. Yeah, maybe I don't remember. But
it's the one where it's like the first movie is like a horror movie because a bunch of people break into his house.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And he is clearly the villain there, and then the second movie, they try to redeem him somehow, and you see this with Maleficent, you see this with Cruella de Vil. And I'm like, why do people do this? Why? What's the appeal? What's the drive to get people to care about evil people?
Well, I don't think caring about an evil person is I guess caring's not the right word. I don't
like
well, I mean, so, one of my favorite villains is Mr. Freeze.
Oh, don't breathe. What's the name?
Oh, Don't Breathe. That's right.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Rhino.
Well, Mr. Freeze has his motivation is understandable. He's trying to save his wife, and you empathize with that. You understand that.
But that can make a film dangerous because they have this drive that you can understand. Yeah, and this drive is what makes them good villains.
Exactly.
And to play into what Comics with Drew is saying right there, Mr. Freeze, you understand his motivation. He's trying to save his wife, but he's willing to do that at any cost.
At any cost,
He doesn't care who he kills to do it. Like it's either he does what he needs to do or Nora dies, and he can't live in a world without Nora. It's not possible for him. And so he only sees people, the people of the outside world as an obstacle to get over. Okay, if you're going to prevent me from getting the money I need to continue my research, you're dead. There is a level that I think that is true, but I think that speaks to even when you look at Magneto and how he runs the Brotherhood of Mutants, I wouldn't say that there's really any of the Brotherhood that he'd go if they got locked up, he's not necessarily if they did something that went against his own moral his own philosophy even remotely, he'd kill them himself. None of those people have any inherent value to him. Personally, outside of maybe you could argue his kids, which is also questionable if you've read any of that. But
I got to point out, Chris, I've been reading some of the comments, and Chris is just hitting all the points that I would have made. Every single comment of his is spot on. That's exactly how I feel. That's exactly what I would say. He is on the money in every single point he's made. But he's absolutely right about this one, up on the screen right now, destructionism. Modern day creators at DC and Marvel and that's what they're doing. I think someone I think in some of the panels, if you want some good videos on the subject, go watch The Fourth Age. He makes some really, really solid videos about all of this.
Right.
And
but you see the same with heroes nowadays. They're written more.
Deconstructions are like everyone's bread and butter right now, and it is very annoying, because especially when you're trying to read a hero book and all the writer cares about is how many ways can I deconstruct this character. Like Batman's probably the best example of this, because ever since The Dark Knight Returns, every other writer comes in and is like, I want to do a deconstruction of Batman, and it's gotten to a point where Batman's been deconstructed to the point where like he's got little to anything left.
Yeah, he loses the essence that made him Batman. If you ask people now who is Batman, then it really depends when they were born. But the same thing with the X-Men, for instance. Do they still act like heroes? No,
they don't. Yeah, modern X-Men stuff is very blurred. They're essentially they're on like this mutant island now, and they all want to like essentially just conquer Earth and subjugate humanity to accept them, and no matter the cost, they're X-Men right now are pretty much villains. Like they are.
Right. Yeah. Like Drew says, we need more villains like the Terminator or Ledger Joker. Yeah. Just being evil. Well, the Terminator's not really evil. He's just this machine, and he's programmed to do something, But he's clearly the antagonist.
He's the villain. Well, and that's something that I do agree with at this point. I enjoy a good morally complex villain, but I think that we've gotten to a point where it's become the standard thing to do, and as a result, it's getting tired, and it's also creating misconceptions of what villains are supposed to be. And I think that that's dangerous. So like I'm all for just being like, okay, let's stop focusing on the morally complex stuff. Let's start focusing on some like real assholes here. Like let's bring Red Skull back. Like let's do shit like that. And let's make him actually Red Skull, not we're putting talking points from an opposing political view into Red Skull's mouth to try and demonize.
Well, let me ask a question. What do you guys think of the MCU version of Thanos? Because Thanos wasn't like that in the comics. In the MCU, they kind of, I guess.
So I think that the big thing the big thing with Thanos, with how Thanos was dealt with the MCU, is I think for within the context of the MCU, it works, right? Like because that was the kind the whole universe that they were building. I don't know if having Thanos be like the mad titan that he is in the comics and having him be obsessed with the entity of death and everything would have worked as organically in the MCU as how it did with like Infinity War and Endgame and what have you.
Yeah, where you made it fit though.
I definitely think that there are points where I watch those films and I wish that we could see a bit more of the psychopath, but I don't necessarily. I really enjoyed Infinity War a good deal, and I liked Thanos a lot in that. And I felt that it was really interesting because they kind of gave him I wrote a whole thing about this and how they made his storyline kind of parallel to Agamemnon's in Iphigenia at Aulis, which is a very tragic story, but is what it is.
One sec, Michael. Let me say hi to Bristolian Dave.
Of course.
All right, meet Paris. Welcome, Dave. Did I miss Robert Cookman? Yeah, he just left, man. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was fine in the MCU. I kind of wish he would have been more like he was in the comics, though. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I think like I've seen so many articles and so many arguments like, oh, Thanos was right, Thanos is right to do what he did.
That is certainly annoying, and I do think that it was a fun thing to play with in universe as jokes afterwards, because there's like a few things when you see like later stuff, like even in I think it was like No Way Home. There you see like a Thanos is right sticker on a urinal or some shit like that, because that is totally something that would that would happen. Is like you'd have something like that happen, and there'd be people who are like, oh, he's like, especially given the fact that he does have this appeal to reason. He like there are going to be people that take up that stance. And to make sure that I'm understood here, I am not stating that Thanos is right. I am stating that there are always going to be people like when you have somebody that has any sort of quote unquote reason-based argument, there are always going to be people that follow that person, no matter how idiotic the reason is. I mean, there's a lady trying to say that the Roman Empire didn't exist on TikTok right now, and there are people that believe her. So like that's always going to happen. But I felt that for the most part, I think that what they accomplished with Thanos is that he's still very much a bad guy, and he even acknowledges that what he is doing is, while it will benefit the universe, he acknowledges that everyone nobody's going to agree with it, which is why he has to.
Yeah. One of the issues that I have is specifically, I'm going to use a specific example of this. Is this kind of worship of Joker, for example? There's this weird worship of Joker that troubles me. This psychopathic killer, and people. I mean, it's fun to like him.
Brought about by Heath Ledger. Like I know that Comics with Drew was talking about how like we need another villain like Heath Ledger's Joker, but really that's where all this shit started, because that's even where all the fucking memes come from. Is like all the stupid shit, like being a kid is wanting to be Batman, being an adult is realizing that Joker's in the right. Like, no, that's not how this fucking works. I definitely agree with you. Between the Joker and Joker Harley and all of this.
Oh, Harley! Yeah, this weird obsession with suddenly making Harley more heroic now. I'm like, no. Harley, well, it depends on what version of Harley you go with, but like the comic book version of Harley is a psychopathic killer just like Joker was, and she was privy to a lot of the heinous crimes that he did, and now suddenly we're supposed to believe she's a hero. No, I'm sorry, but it doesn't work like that.
I feel that the best that you can hope for with Harley Quinn, and this is something that I've said, like I don't mind her being with Poison Ivy. I don't mind her doing any of that stuff. But if she is going to do that stuff, if she is going to move on from the Joker, then she can no longer be Harley Quinn.
She has to be a different character completely.
She has to drop the moniker, because the whole point of her being Harley Quinn is that she is being mentally abused and used by an abusive individual. The whole point, especially when you go back into her origins from that were established in Mad Love and everything like that, is that she is a person that is holding on to this hope that she can fix Joker, and that they're going to have a happy life together and everything. And if you're going to have her move on from the Joker, Harley Quinn as a title and everything like that goes away. She needs to either create a new identity or just abandon it altogether and just become Harleen Quinzel.
But DC's not going to do that. The name makes them too much money
because they want money. But the fact of the matter is that they aren't making that much money off of it, and that's part of the problem. Like we had the
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say that it's an insult to feminism so much as a commentary on abusive relationships. Especially when you look at why am I blanking on his fucking name? Paul Dini. When you look at Paul Dini's background and his mental state when he was writing a lot of the animated series and what he was going through during that time, she is being manipulated by an abusive romantic partner, and there is a lot to say for the kind of mental toll that takes on somebody, and there's a reason why a lot of women who are in abusive relationships, and even men that are in abusive relationships, don't report their abuse or don't see their abuse as abuse, but them being punished for being wrong. So that's a whole other situation. I think that Harley's also one of those characters that's brought in this kind of thing where a lot of people misunderstand what she was supposed to represent initially, and now for whatever fucking reason we're using her as a means for female empowerment. If you want to use Harleen Quinzel as a character of female empowerment, have her completely reject the Joker and stop being a villain.
And stop calling yourself Harley Quinn.
That's why I said Harleen Quinzel, because that is her actual name. But have her ditch everything that the Joker attached to her. Have her turn her back.
Wasn't Joker the one that came up with the name? If I'm not mistaken.
Well, he came up with the Harley Quinn identity, but her name was Harleen Quinzel.
I know that, but what I mean to say is so you know what? Although probably feminists would claim, well, she could keep the name because she's taking ownership of it or some crap like that. They'd probably say that to excuse her keeping the name.
Yeah, well, and that's what it is that it's all about keeping brand association, and and that's where you're getting into the whole point where the big two. And this is the advantage that indie comics has over the big two. The big two has established IPs and a quote unquote sustaining industry where they can pay their talent, this, that, the other. And because they have these iconic characters, you're going to have floods of people coming into them. But if you really think about it, Marvel and DC have really only been just been publishing fan fiction about established characters since the creators either passed on or stopped working on those books, right? If you're looking at it from a very realistic approach, at the end of the day, you might have your favorite Spider-Man run, this, that, the other, but no one understood Spider-Man like Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, right? At the end of the day, I love the Ed Brubaker Captain America run. It's fantastic. However, Ed Brubaker didn't create Steve Rogers. Joe Simon and Jack Kirby did. And anyone ever has written on Captain America is going to be more in line with who that character was established to be than Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Just that's how it is. And but when it comes down to independent creators, we're constantly creating our own IPs, and it's not like we're handing them we're always handing them off for other people to write. And if we do allow other people to write them, we sit there and we make sure that it's in line with how we envision them.
Yeah, right? Drew's right here. Harley Quinn was phenomenal, and when her original creation in Batman the Animated Series was the quintessential, definitive Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and I mean, you had they did one or two small limited comic runs that were based in the animated series where she was fine.
Yeah, I'll even say the Arkham games got her pretty accurately too.
Well, I mean those games were written by Paul Dini.
Yeah.
So yes,
yeah.
But that's the whole thing that you have here is DC will never actually do that to. Never actually put Harley in a position where she actually goes through a tangible character growth and grows past what she was, because they don't want to let go of the brand association, because at the end of the day they know they are like, well, we don't really care about the stories, we care about the money we get from the IP, and we can't rake
so
in the money.
It's gonna stay stagnant. It's gonna not
you're
evolve.
absolutely correct.
It's just gonna stay stale.
Pretty much,
it is. But Dave, you I wanted to ask you, because honestly, I think you've come up with some really cool villains that I've actually been jealous about. In particular, my favorite, and one that I'm like, damn it, I wish I would have thought of that, is Hive Mind. And I mentioned this before.
Thank
so
you.
What's your process of creating a villain for any of your comics? Like,
it really depends. Some villains you just need to do something to give the hero something to do. But then you have the core villains. They're basically the core, the main villain. So you have this arch enemy or this villain that is a returning character.
mm-hmm.
A good villain to me is someone who makes the hero exist.
Yeah.
So who gives the hero also his motivation.
Mm-hmm.
The raison d'etre. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be the opposite. Often you hear the villain has to be the opposite of the hero. It doesn't need to be like that. It's more motivational.
And you could have like different types of villains. Different villain have, for example, one of my villains is Power Surge.
Welcome, Neff. Welcome, sir. Did you get him? He just left, and maybe he'll be back.
Yeah, you might need to just catch the replay.
Yeah.
So like someone like Power Surge, which I don't like to use the word villain when I describe him, so I actually use the word super criminal, because he's more greedy than he is evil.
Right.
Odin.
Odin is not.
Well, like at that point, wouldn't greed be so? Like, if we were to break down heroes and villains into effectively subsets of categories of desirable traits that showcase societal strength versus undesirable traits that lead to anarchy or supremacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then wouldn't greed make him evil? Like if that is his sole drive. Like at the end of the day, Orange Lanterns are villains.
It's one of the 7 sins.
Yeah.
True. Greed is one of the 7 sins. You're right about that. But I mean, he is evil, but he's not going to he's not going to cause genocide or, kill women and children and things like that,
I mean, yeah, but still, like, Batman has plenty of has plenty of villains that have similar kind of deals. They're still villains.
Yes.
Like at the end of the day, you have. I think that there's an important distinction where you have street level villains.
Mm-hmm.
You have, and those amount to anything from a guy, robbing a bank. Like, you can rob a bank without hurting anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're robbing a bank, you're still a bad guy. You're still breaking societal law.
And villains don't need to be complicated.
So would you call characters like Black Cat or Catwoman, for example?
Black Cat and Catwoman I would put in, and I realize that this has become somewhat of a taboo term, but it's an anti-hero, because at the end of the day they go across, they traverse both lines. It's almost like there are times where they are a villain and there are times when they are a hero, because there are times where Black Cat does good things with genuine good intention, as same thing with Selena Kyle as Catwoman. But at the end of the day, they're also thieves. They are also breaking laws for personal gain. Like, Batman technically as a vigilante is breaking slews of laws, but what is the core
purpose of Batman is he's trying to bring justice to Gotham, right? He's trying to protect his city, which is selfless. However, Selena Kyle's motivations are selfish. So her breaking breaking the law, everything that she does is to benefit herself, right? So that's when she's a villain. But if she is helping out Batman and it is out of an actual desire to do good, then at that point in time she's acting in a heroic fashion. So she straddles the line. She is at that point an anti-hero. She is a villainous character that you root for, but she is going against the very fabric of society that is something that should be valued.
Right. Nefarious didn't like the Rainbow Coalition lanterns. I kind of like those, man. I kind of like those. That Jeff Johns.
I like the red lanterns. I like the blue lanterns. You know, I kind of like Saint Walker's a great character for the blue lanterns. You know, I don't have a huge problem with all of that, honestly.
Also, welcome to the show, Watchmen Lover 1.
Oh, I've been saying this for a long time. DC needs to go away. Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is, they will never go away. They're like at the end of the day, them and Marvel are the titans of the industry. What really needs to happen is they need to bring in better editors, and they need to start screening their talent for actual talent. But
yeah.
Only accept pitches that like, you know, if you send it out to a blind test demographic, that you have a positive response come back. That's it.
So I think this is a problem with many villains that get popular, that they want to exploit that. So they these villains get their own titles or their own shows, like Loki, for instance, and on the screen like Venom, with his own movies now, and he basically turned into this anti-hero also. And this means that they take away the aspect that made him popular. The popular aspect was also the fact that he was a cool villain, and then they bring him over to the hero side, let's say, right? So then you have to invent new villains, and this popularity is kind of dependent on that part. Maybe for some characters it works better, like Venom. I'm not sure, but for Loki it was a stupid move.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Venom, I mean, I like.
Hey, Darkseid.
Venom, it definitely didn't really do too much to, because Venom was always kind of this whole thing where Eddie Brock wasn't a bad guy. He was just a guy that really was pissed off at Peter Parker, and the symbiote was really pissed off at Spider-Man / Peter Parker. And so all of his actions were, I want to destroy Peter Parker's life.
Yeah, it was connected to the Spider-Man franchise.
So the way that I always reason it is, like, if Eddie Brock was in a situation where he could help somebody, he would do it. But the moment Spider-Man gets involved, that goes out the window. Everything becomes about trying to kill Spider-Man.
So So it'd be different if they try to do to Venom to like Carnage. Like if they try to do that with Carnage, that wouldn't work, because Carnage is just an irredeemable serial killer.
Cletus Cassidy is just fucking evil.
Yeah. But yeah, also there's Magneto.
Okay, so I have this website here. They list 50 heroes. We can browse through them, see what you guys think. For instance, Cyborg Superman.
I don't know. Cyborg Superman.
There is no way that Cyborg Superman is a more interesting villain than Magneto.
No.
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 Look, here he is. Here's your favorite.
Where is he listed on this? I know that IGN did like a top 100 villain and a top 100 hero list like 10 years ago that I thought was pretty on point.
Yeah.
I think the villains, the top two were Magneto and Joker. I think that Magneto came in at number 2 and Joker came in at number 1.
Yeah. These are the most well known also. But this is not really a list.
Well, my favorite Batman villain is actually Ra's al Ghul. Just say that.
I mean, he's like he's a great villain, but like I will say like it doesn't matter what what our favorite villains are. Like everyone's pretty much going to like if you had a vote of like best Batman villain of all time, it would probably be the Joker by sheer like.
I'll admit that's true. It's just kind of like too much Joker already. Like
my personal favorite is Mr. Freeze. So
Mr. Freeze is great, yeah.
Like it, and then right behind him is Clayface. I also really liked the Court of Owls. I thought Scott Snyder's like first few arcs on his Batman were fantastic. But like all these DC characters lose to Batman. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
except for Cyborg Superman.
Poison Ivy's okay. I mean, she's I don't really like her too much, but she's okay. Doc Ock is great. Awesome. I love Dr. Octopus as a Spider-Man villain. He's really cool.
The Dark Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say so.
The John Byrne run is just epic, and it totally screwed it over in the movies.
Both of them. Both of them. Bane is cool depending on who's doing him. Like Chuck Dixon, obviously he did amazing with him. So, but I've seen some versions of him that haven't been that good. I thought that the way they did him in Arkham Origins was really good in that video game.
Right.
Yeah, I think most people are.
Lizard, yeah, I like one of the things I didn't like about Amazing Spider-Man 1 was how they got rid of Kurt Connor's family. That made him more interesting.
So,
but they didn't do that in the
part
movie.
Is that they didn't get rid of it. They actually have a whole bunch of scenes with him like on the phone, and if you look at his office, he does have pictures with him and his family. But like they did not keep the scenes where he's like on the phone with his ex arguing about when he gets to see his son.
Yeah, and that kind of like bothered me because that's one of the most interesting elements about the Lizard, about Kurt Connors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Riddler's great, but he's not going to be great in the new movie. He's going to be terrible. No, that's not Riddler. I don't know.
All right, I saw that.
I completely disagree with you, Hirogi. I'm very excited for the Batman. I am.
Really?
I think that it's obviously not going to be like a classic Riddler initially, but Matt Reeves has pretty much stated that like if this is an origin movie for anybody, it's an origin movie for his villains. So like we're seeing Riddler in this kind of Zodiac-esque costume, but as things go down the line, you might see him in this. You might see these guys like that because this is just their starting point. Batman's been operating for 2 years. Like we're just seeing the side effects. Yeah. But and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm fairly certain that movie's gonna fucking kick ass.
We'll see, man.
But anyways, Green Goblin is always a good decision.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yep. Who the hell is her star? What?
I don't know. Where's the
Preacher?
He's from the Preacher.
He's from Preacher, yeah. Fucking nefarious. Why isn't Captain Boomerang on this list?
Mysterio, yeah.
Mysterio. I always loved his design, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The classic Mysterio design, yeah.
So what did you think of the way the movies handled him?
The fight scenes were great. I do think that the first fight scene between Spider-Man and Mysterio at the train station was you could not ask for a more perfect rendition of a Mysterio Spider-Man fight. but I didn't like the motivations. And I was very not happy with the
casting.
Well, no, Jake Gyllenhaal did fine. Like, I think Jake Gyllenhaal is a fantastic actor. Like, I don't like that, especially for the first two of those Spider-Man films. I had less of a problem with it with Homecoming, because the Vulture was actually pretty well fleshed out in that. Like,
yeah, that was great.
I was fine with him, with that being that dynamic for that. But I felt that Far From Home missed out on an opportunity on actually starting to build a rogues gallery for Spider-Man. Like, the fact that, again, you have a character whose sole motivation is driven by the actions of Tony Stark starts to make the character feel like a footnote in his own damn story. So
Drew says we should talk about the merits of the Daredevil Kingpin from Netflix.
Oh yeah, he was fucking incredible. Vincent D'Onofrio crushed it.
Yes.
In the Daredevil series, absolutely phenomenal.
I have seen I haven't seen season 3, so
no, I've seen one season of the Daredevil.
They're all very solid. I do think that season 1 is the best. I think season 3 is probably the second best. Season 2 starts off very strong, but the moment that the focus shifts away from the Punisher Daredevil dynamic and focuses on Elektra in the Hand, it starts to weaken a bit.
Right.
But
no. Yeah, with the Spider-Man movies, I only saw Homecoming, and that was enough for me to like, this is not Spider-Man for me. I'm done.
Well, like,
no more.
My thing with Homecoming is as far as putting Spider-Man in the MCU and with how he was introduced in Civil War, a lot of what they did makes sense. I wasn't too crazy about the AI stuff. But I felt that the dynamic, I thought that the way that they handled the Vulture was really good. Like, yes, you're having him take on somebody that is disgruntled with Tony initially, but by the end of the movie, Adrian Toomes is fighting Peter because he's choosing to be Spider-Man and stop him from doing the wrong thing, and I thought that was good. I think that Homecoming is a strong introduction, but what really takes away from it and has made it age a lot poorer is Far From Home. I think Far From Home, Homecoming had this whole thing of having him be like, you know what, I'm okay with being Spider-Man, and that was I don't need to be an Avenger. I can be Spider-Man. But then they doubled down on, I have to be Iron Man 2.0 in Far From Home, and I think that's what hurt a lot. It was just like,
I have a lot of fundamental problems with the MCU version of Spider-Man that can be its own 2-hour-long video. So,
but
I don't know. Kingpin's never done it for me as a villain. Like, he's kind of like been always meant to me. So I don't have much to say about Kingpin in general.
And yeah, I did see Paul Giamatti as the Mega Rhino, and it was terrible.
What's unfortunate is I think that ending scene from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was brilliant, and if it wasn't used in the film's promotion, no one would have cared. Like, if that had been the ending of the movie and they hadn't put it out there in all the trailers, because literally every trailer for promoting Amazing Spider-Man 2 had them clashing, like,
and that shot where like he's
in the middle of it,
yeah.
But like the whole idea of like him coming back and the movie ending with him fighting the Rhino.
That's a cool idea. I like that. That's kind of a good bookend idea. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it was great. It's just like when you make that part of your active promotion, people are going to expect an actual fight.
If it was a surprise, and if it was just a surprise for the movie itself, yeah.
Yeah, but also Neff says it had much potential. Yeah, perhaps, but I'm not a fan of movie versions of comic book characters that drift too far from their original design or creation, and the Rhino just didn't do it for me. Just like
case in point is Ultron from Age of Ultron Avengers. That's not Ultron. That annoyed me. He's not Ultron, and Ultron's one of my favorites.
Drones looked like Ultron.
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't so much the design that I had a problem with. His personality, the way he acted, that's not Ultron.
I mean, that's fair, but I think that a lot of that also had to do with the fact that they didn't have, like, Ultron's supposed to be created by Hank Pym, and there's a whole other story with that. I think that also played in a big part where they were trying to bring in this character that, in a way that they didn't have all the pieces from before. Yeah. I do think that was a mistake. But I do think that Age of Ultron is probably one of those movies that I felt that a lot of people didn't give a fair shake initially, but after everything else has come out, has aged very well because of how brilliantly it set up everything else.
Because it did a ton of heavy lifting.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot, one of my villains is very heavily influenced by Ultron. And you could see. Yes, that's Eve.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Ultron and also the Superman animated series version of Brainiac is also a big influence on that character. And
what's her motivation? So you have this villain.
Yeah.
Why did you create her? What does she want?
Essentially, similar motivations to Ultron. She's under this false impression that she needs to save humanity by making them better. So by making them better, she said, they need to be machines or whatnot. So that's her initial motivation. And if you take a look at all the villains that I have, there's you could tell the influences that for some of my favorite villains from DC and Marvel, and I take from both. Elements from DC, this character, and I take the characters, elements from that character. What's his name? Power Surge is like, he's a little, Shocker. No, sorry, Electro, and a little bit Captain Cold. I combine those elements. But that's only initially, though. I do dive deep into the character a lot.
Right.
Just on the base level.
So the Sandman was pretty cool, right? But in the third Raimi Spider-Man movie, I don't know whose idea that was to connect him with the death of.
That was
weird.
That was very much a Raimi decision. You can kind of tell what things were studio implemented and what things were Raimi doing what Raimi wanted to do, because it kind of fit in how he did his previous storytelling. I think how he's handled Sandman in 3 was very much what he wanted to do with that. I think that the obvious one is obvious that was Venom. He had no interest in bringing in that character, and that was forced on him. And then I think Harry Osborn had some studio interference, I think, as well. But there are elements to that story that also remain.
It was a mess, yeah. But I didn't get why they had to connect the Sandman to Uncle Ben's death. I thought it was just too much coincidence, and it wasn't.
It was bizarre, yeah.
Okay, well, Carnage is
Carnage is a good example of the irredeemably evil villain. The one that's just evil, and there's no sympathy for that character at all. He's just bad.
There should never be anything to make Cletus Cassidy approachable. He is a piece of garbage.
The Frightful Four. Oh yeah, they're cool with Blackpot Pete.
I don't know much about Frightful Four. I'm gonna say my favorite villain group from Marvel is the Sinister Six, but
right. Who is Barracuda?
No idea. Punisher villain.
From the Punisher, apparently. Okay, I don't know. Morbius?
I don't know much about Morbius, though.
No.
I guess. Lex Luthor? Yeah, Lex Luthor is a great Superman villain. I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Classic. Brainiac, yes. And that's the thing about. I don't know why. In every single Superman movie, they're afraid to go beyond Lex Luthor. They don't do Brainiac. Brainiac is an amazing, or Metallo, or Parasite.
Well, I can tell you at least one reason why they never went for Brainiac, at least for older movies, and it's called budget. Because pulling off Brainiac, you have to realize that before the MCU, people these studios were not willing to spend that kind of fucking money on superhero movies. So now you could totally do Superman versus Brainiac because they would be all about
they still haven't done it. They
haven't done it because I guarantee you that so the reason why none of that stuff has happened at this point is because all the controversy that the Snyderverse brought into everything with DC. DC is still trying to figure out what the fuck they're going to do with their films.
I'm so sick of the Snyderverse, man.
No, me too, man. Me too. I'm tired of ranting about how much I don't like the Snyderverse, so I'm not going to do it.
Area Blackness here.
That worked, but not many.
Welcome, Area.
Hello.
I do think it's a shame that they had such perfect casting for certain characters and have been utterly squandered.
Yeah.
Red Skull is also one of these great irredeemable evil villains. Red Skull is great. He's a really good foil to Captain America.
They should make a movie with Red Skull that you can connect with him and understand his motivations. And
you don't need that. He's a fucking Nazi.
No. Exactly. Oh man, Two-Face, good. Yeah.
This great picture, by the way.
That's from Arkham City.
That's from City. Yeah.
All right.
Darkseid, Darkseid is great.
The OG Thanos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Metallo. I like Metallo as a villain. And he would have been a relatively inexpensive villain to do in a Superman movie, not as expensive as Brainiac.
Yeah, no, you could have pulled off Metallo in a Superman film. They had Metallo, I think, in Supergirl at one point.
That crappy ass show. No.
Stilt Man, yeah, man. Stilt great.
I'd buy that for $1.
I think the Stilt Man, the appearance of Stilt Man in the Spider-Man book was the first ever Spider-Man book that I bought.
Really?
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty weird.
This would be a fucking cool character to do. I don't know how you would pull it off. Yeah, I love.
He's a great.
A lot of my I have found a lot of really good stories that have been. I mean, hell, you've even got whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow is all the machinations of Mr. Mistletoe. But I honestly would love to see somebody try to do something with him because I think it'd be a really interesting way.
He'd be a fun villain, like a fun with a
It's a very different type of villain because he's not you're not gonna have him go have a duke it out fight with anybody, but he changes reality, and it's mental gymnastics because the only way that you win is if you get him to say his name backwards.
Yeah. And in my opinion, Superman the animated series just for me hit it out of the park with a lot of these Superman villains. Brainiac, Mxyzptlk, Metallo, Darkseid, Mandarin. Oh well, they screwed him up in the MCU.
Yeah, in the
Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3.
Did he appear in the Shang-Chi movie?
Yeah, he did.
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea. I haven't seen that movie and I don't plan to do
it. That's where he appeared. They had Ben Kingsley play a caricature in Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because he actually when they were just doing the trailers and everything, he looked great.
It's like they set all this up just for that one moment that everyone goes, oh no, it's not real. That's it, and then all potential is just wasted.
It really is a shame, and
they've brought in quote unquote Mandarin into Shang-Chi, and I was just like, look, I don't give a shit because like the whole point of Mandarin isn't for him to fight other magic users. The whole point of Mandarin is to fight Iron Man because it is the struggle between New World versus Old World, tech versus magic.
Right.
That's the whole fucking point of the dynamic. So no, I don't give a shit.
Whiplash, really? Oh, okay.
Okay. Look at this costume, man.
Interesting choice.
Yeah. I don't know anything about him really.
MODOK is a cool villain. I do like MODOK.
Yeah, great design.
Yeah. Very, very weird. I love how weird he is. MODOK's design is just super awesome and weird. I love it. Ironmonger, he's only there because he was in the first Iron Man movie, pretty much. That's the only reason he's on this list.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
More than likely accurate.
We have Sinestro. This is one of the major villains.
Major villain. Sinestro is really, really cool.
Yeah.
I think he was.
No,
I think he was.
Mandarin broke Arya's heart. Oh no.
No. I think in the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie, who they cast as Sinestro was perfect.
Yeah, they got Mark Strong.
Mark Strong was spot on.
The right features.
A lot of the casting for that movie was very good. The only thing that I thought was poorly cast was Green Lantern. Like, I love Ryan Reynolds, but if I were to cast him as a DC character, it would have been Wally West.
Wally West, would have been really, really good as Wally West. Perfect, yeah. Parallax. I have a huge problem with the whole Parallax thing. I don't like that Hal Jordan became Parallax. Like, that whole thing bothers me. So,
right.
Fin
Fang Foom.
Some of these choices are weird. Fin Fang Foom, okay, he's just a big alien dragon thing. Okay.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of choices on here that I certainly wouldn't have put on any top villain list.
Loki, Whiplash. Yes. Loki's good. Loki's a classic, really good.
Barracuda wouldn't even make it onto that list. Why do you have Barracuda up here and not Jigsaw?
Maybe the one putting up the list just likes these characters and think they deserve more attention.
I guess, but even from a Punisher standpoint, he's not even a top Punisher villain.
Jigsaw would make more sense or something, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like, why are you putting that? Or hell, the Russian. The Russian's been on like two live action adaptations of the character.
Yeah.
And the Russian's just some big blonde dude that beats the crap out of Frank for like a few pages.
Doomsday is cool, but my issue with Doomsday is that a lot of people put Doomsday in their list because he killed Superman, but Doomsday is just he's bland. A mindless. He's not a character. He's a
just brute force.
He's a giant hammer. That's all he is. He's a giant hammer. He's a weapon. He's not a character.
Right. Yeah.
Now
the Kingpin. We talked about the Kingpin.
Kingpin is fantastic when he is written well. Kingpin will. He is one of those characters that if you have the right guy writing a Kingpin story, like Wilson Fisk becomes one of the most dangerous people in at least in the New York area for Marvel.
Apocalypse, classic X-Men villain, of course. He's
totally ruined him.
Oh yeah, they ruined him in movies. Yeah, completely ruined him.
What else is new?
Omega Red, really? I don't know. Omega Red is
he's got a cool design.
Yeah, his cool is fantastic. His design. The Juggernaut
is cool, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Juggernaut is too similar to Rhino?
No. Very different character motivations.
Well, I'm sure in motivations, but as far as
they have a similar-ish power set, although Juggernaut is vastly more powerful than Rhino is.
Okay. Yeah.
The Kingpin is based on Babyface Dave, the Scourge of Bristol's Underworld.
No, but I Strange. Hugo Strange is a really, really good Batman villain because he's more cerebral, more psychological Batman villain, which is pretty cool.
Right. Yeah.
Sabretooth, classic, Wolverine villain mostly, but yeah, really, really good. Doctor Doom, yes. The thing about Doctor Doom that upsets me is that they've never got the only adaptation I've seen outside of comics that got him right was Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Like, if you watch that show, the way that they did Doctor Doom was just perfection. Perfect. It's so good. But they've never been able to get him right outside of that or the comics.
No. Galactus is not really a villain.
No, he's kind of a force of nature. That's all he is, really. You know. Emma Frost. Yeah. I don't know.
Bullseye.
Bullseye, again, character cool. That it all just depends on who's writing him. I've definitely seen some really good Bullseye stuff, but I've seen equal amounts of really bad Bullseye stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Zod. What a strange Zod. What a strange drawing this is.
Yeah.
I don't recognize him here.
The thing about General Zod is that he doesn't have I felt General Zod never had a distinctive, definitive design.
I'd agree with that. I've seen him go through design changes every few years.
Yeah,
you could get a General Zod action figure, and like people like, who is that? Like, oh, is it General Zod? Like, really? Because there's no definitive General Zod look.
Yeah. Judge Dredd, I don't know much about this.
I don't know much about Judge Dredd, so.
Sin of Killers? Where's he from?
I don't know. Preacher, I guess.
Preacher, yeah. Shredder.
Shredder, yes, classic TMNT villain, yeah.
Kraven the Hunter is probably the most underappreciated Spider-Man.
Yeah. I read Kraven the Last Hunt, and that was brilliant. Such a good Spider-Man comic.
Yeah, one of the best Spider-Man stories there is. Yeah,
definitely.
Ozymandias. Okay, that was the last one. Great.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. Great, man.
Yeah.
Let me share something else for a little bit. Wait a minute. What do you guys? We have a few things. Did you send it to me, Ron?
What's that?
Indiegogo campaign. I think you did. Let me show this. Share screen.
I sent because earlier in the chat we had the guy from Infinitales there.
Oh yeah.
Chris Fisk. Yeah, Chris Fisk has his. Yeah. This looks great.
It does. Yeah.
This looks fantastic, man.
Okay. It does look really cool. I have so many comics on my, I want a backlist, so it's dangerous for me to add another one, but it looks really great.
Yeah, let me put this in the chat. This link. Come on, so people check it out. This looks awesome. Chat. There we go, and we have Perfect 10 issue 3. You can sign up. You get a cool free mystery print once when we launch. So this will be awesome. And Michael Oden's Project American Bliss, Father's Pride.
Yep.
And if you're missing any comics from JMU Comics, go to our website, jmucomics.com. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's basically it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Ron and Michael, thank you very much for a good chat.
Yeah, man. And always a pleasure.
And thank you, chat, for watching and commenting. And
I like the interaction we had with the chat. This time is really, really good. Brought up some amazing points, and some, they kept the conversation going. I love when that happens.
Indeed. And we'll be back next week.
Yep, you got to come up with a topic for next week.
Yeah. If you guys have a topic you want us to discuss, just hit us up on Twitter, and we can discuss it. Okay, guys, thank you all for watching, and see you next time.
Later.
Bye.